Several of the websites I looked at this week cite Mel as being one of our top watercolors of our time, and they're not wrong. Mel began his journey at Pratt Institute, and fortune led him to Edgar Whitney's painting class. Mel became a Whitney protege, adapting some of Whitney's style, which is sometimes called the California School, known for rapid, stylized, and expressive painting. For over 30 years, Mel has worked by day as art director of various advertising agencies in New York City, and at the same time, he was a watercolor, or is a watercolor instructor and painter, teaching workshops all over the United States and abroad. He still maintains a very busy teaching schedule. Mel is a signature member of the American Watercolor Society, the National Watercolor Society, the Northeast Watercolor Society, the Transparent Watercolor Society of America, and of course, New Jersey.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming, and I'll see you.
You don't have to say anything now. Just get off.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
I can hear it, okay. Yeah. Thanks, Marge, for that terrific, where are you?
I'm over here.
That terrific introduction. I don't know how you live up to something like that, but we'll try. I thought I would do this welcoming summer. This is Edgartown Light in Martha's Vineyard, and it's kind of colorful, fairly dramatic because of the angles. So if I were to, always got something on the back of these. Just to demonstrate some of the things to consider when you're taking photographs or sketching outdoors. So shapes come first. Can that be seen?
Yes.
Okay, it's dark enough. So if we just made some simple divisions, just abstractly, one for shape. We divided this rectangle. That's sky and headland back there. The lighthouse is located here somewhere. There are dynamic angles coming to the forefront. Let's swing around. So everything is quite active, kind of leading to the lighthouse. And it works. There's very few shapes that repeat one another, so it becomes a dynamic thing. That's the first thing to look for. It has to do what is known as design, and that's the first consideration. And the reason that I paint quickly, I've learned to do that when I was learning, is that, as you know, if you've all been painting in watercolor, it's a very rapid medium to work with. Throw down color into a puddle of water, it'll do wild, wonderful, crazy things that you can't control. So I always suggest that if you're at home painting, have yourself a beer or a gin and tonic, get loose, and then paint, and just let it go. The problem is, and it takes a long time, that I think we worry too much about the outcome, if you will, especially if you're painting relatives, doing portraits of children, whatever. Just to quote my dear friend Robert Henry, who said the objective is not to create a work of art. The objective should be to get into a frame of mind that makes art inevitable. In other words, identify what it is that you're feeling and go for that. Doesn't work out, so be it. Well, I spent 3 hours failing on a painting when you could fail in an hour and a half. It's far less painful. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what time it is, 22 after. So we'll go for the big divisions first. Here's my horizontal. Lighthouse appears about here. Maybe time to get the lighthouse in. Okay. There's the cone of the lighthouse, the little sphere on top. The walkway around the lighthouse, that indents. So this would be continuous contour drawing. Pencil doesn't leave the hand or the paper. Just keep it going. Water. Distant beach. Goes out. So as in a nanosecond, I'm looking at this very quickly, and the mind takes in the character of the bushes. So some of them have spiky edges. I don't have to look at it again. I don't have to make a study. Trying not to be a TikTok painter. Wild. Cast shadows, and dune coming down. And there's some rock formations. Up, and the bushes kind of meandering. And there's a dock. And you don't have to accept everything unless if it adds to the concept or the character of what you're trying to portray, whether it's a figure or a landscape, included. Otherwise, ruthlessly eliminated. You can still see the top of the lighthouse, right?
Right.
Okay. And we could see the picture. Okay. Try to work it that way.
Do you concern yourself with the pencil marks, or do you,
In what way?
well, you try and remove them later, or do you leave them?
Oh,
Just leave them?
if they, sometimes if they're too dark, I might lighten it, but I usually leave them. Yeah, I don't, it's an honest mark, it's like your brush mark, you know, nothing wrong with it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to wet the area first. This is not really a wet and wet, just wetting the surface. I was brung up, as Marge said, when I was being tutored by Mr. Whitney, which was the California way of working, California school, working wet and wet. And I started, most people work small today. Paper couldn't be big enough for me. I worked full sheets from the day I met Whitney. And he worked that way as well, and the California school worked that way. we soak both sides of the paper and get it really wet. Okay, here we go. I'll start off maybe a touch of cobalt.
What kind of paper do you use?
This is Arches 140 cold press.
Thank you. And do you pre-wet your paper?
I pre-wet it this time. Oh, no, no.
No.
No, I don't.
Okay, so it doesn't buckle?
You may get a little bit of a buckle, but I don't pre-wet it or stretch it or things like that.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get stronger color near my area of interest. You have a lighthouse that pretty much calls attention to itself.
And a sable?
This is, yes. It's a man and a woman. She's got a yellow shirt on. Lights coming this way strongly. There's hardly any light on them. They're kind of flatly lit. But maybe I'll favor a source of light coming from the right. Just going for the big silhouettes. Some bright yellow flowers growing out of these wild bushes. I'll throw some yellow in, a bit darker. And warmer, just maybe a piece of quick dry brush. It's a sandy area.
What color is that?
It's a little raw sienna. Splash around a bit. So I'm getting a little bit of dry brush now, as opposed to the point of the brush, by just going rapidly across. So I'm painting the darker part of that bush, but at the same time I'm creating the negative shape of this bush in front. And that takes a little bit of doing.